Lucian wields relic weapons imbued with ancient power and stands a stalwart guardian against the undead. His cold conviction never wavers, even in the face of the maddening horrors he destroys beneath his hail of purifying fire. Lucian walks alone on a grim mission to purge the spirits of those ensnared in undeath, his eternal beloved among them. Like the twin relic weapons they wielded, Lucian and his wife Senna were carved from the same stone. Together they battled evil in Runeterra for years, bringing light to darkness and purging those taken by corruption. They were beacons of righteousness. Senna's dedication to their cause never faltered, while Lucian's kindness and warmth touched the hearts of the many lives they saved. Two parts of one whole, they were devoted and inseparable. Though Lucian and Senna witnessed terror that would break most warriors, nothing they had seen compared to the horrors wrought by the Shadow Isles. When the spectral denizens of that accursed place began to manifest across Runeterra, Lucian and Senna hunted them down wherever they appeared. It was grim work, but the fearless pair prevailed until one tragic encounter with the Soul Collector, Thresh. Lucian and Senna had faced such nightmarish undead before, but never one so deviously clever and cruel. As the terrible battle unfolded, Thresh sprung an unexpected ploy. To Lucian's horror, the creature tricked Senna and ensnared her, trapping her in a spectral prison. Nothing could bring her back. Senna was lost, and for the first time, Lucian faced his mission alone. Though the Warden had taken half of Lucian's heart, he had also created the Shadow Isle's most dangerous foe. Lucian became a man of dark determination, one who would stop at nothing to purge the undead from the face of Runeterra. In honor of Senna's memory, he took up her falling weapon and vowed to see their mission through to the end. Lucian fights to slay the undead and cleanse the souls of the Shadow Isles. He knows that Senna's soul is lost, but never loses hope that one day he will bring her peace.
The Black Knight is a neutral legendary card. It is a 6-cost 4/5 that destroys a selected minion with taunt upon play.
None shall pass.
But what's his story, and why should we care? This is lore behind the legendary, the Black Knight edition.
None shall pass.
Deaths in the tournament and Argent suspicions. The Argent Crusade sought to add to its ranks by finding and recruiting the most powerful champions that Azeroth had to offer. To this end, they formed the Argent Tournament, allowing adventurers to compete in trials of combat to determine who was fit to assault Icecrown. One such combatant was the Black Knight. The mysterious knight was billed as one of the toughest competitors around, yet everyone who was booked to face him had died in unusual circumstances. The organisers began to grow suspicious of the Black Knight, and so Crusader Idala recruited from the growing group of budding Argent champions and sent us to investigate.
Glory to the Sindori.
The Black Knight's past and where Idala sends you depends on your faction. Horde players have to go to Valgan's Field in Silverpine Forest, whereas Alliance players go to Moonbrook. Since the objective is otherwise the same, and I play Alliance, we'll be heading to Westfall for this one. Once there, you find a dusty journal hidden in one of the abandoned houses. The journal is that of a Mr. Cooper, and contains the business ledgers. The Black Knight claims to be descended from the Cooper family, but you find no mention of children in the journal.
Stay the course.
After finding out that the Black Knight's story was false, Radala begins to grow more suspicious. So she sends us out again in order to find a seer's crystal, in order to see visions of the suspicious deaths of the Black Knight's opponents. Revelations and a duel to the death. The visions revealed precisely how the three competitors had passed away. Lorien Sunblaze had been poisoned, Sir Wendell had been burnt alive, and Connell Irongrip had been stabbed in the back. Having proven that the combatants had been murdered, Ridala had to link it to the Black Knight. She sent us out again, this time to follow Malaric, the Black Knight's squire. After incapacitating Malaric with a blow to the back of the head, we find a bag on his person. The bag contained ropes, poisons, a fire-starting kit, and some blooded knives. Ridala, having proven the knight's guilt, wanted to find out who he had been working for. To this end, we used an enchanted bridle supplied by the Kirin Tor to force the Black Knight's griffin to fly us to his home. There we found a stolen tournament invitation and orders from the Cult of the Damned, a group of mortals in service of Kel'Thuzad and the Lich King. These orders actually came from Arthas himself, who sent the Black Knight to disrupt the tournament and destroy the Crusade's finest heroes. Fresh with this new knowledge in our heads, we challenged the Black Knight to a contest in broad daylight. He is unable to get the better of us, and so dismounts and extends the challenge to a hand-to-hand duel to the death. He is quite quickly defeated, presumably ending his story arc for now. Presumably. An eerie presence and the knight's return. For reasons still unknown to man, Argent Confessor Paletrus insisted that the Black Knight have a proper burial. Ever since, Ridala has felt a strange presence emanating from the graveyard, along with several other paladins. As seems to be her usual solution, Ridala sends us to investigate. Once at the gravestone, we find two members of the Cult of the Damned, an assassin and a saboteur. They spot us and boast that we're too late to stop them before the saboteur teleports away, leaving the assassin to fight us. We defeat him easily and return to Ridala to tell her what we've just seen. After some basic scouting, we find the cultist camp just 5 paces to the west. There, we slay Dr. Curler and retrieve his orders, presumably also from Arthas. It turns out that the Cult of the Damned stole the knight's body in order to resurrect and empower him using the soul of a kidnapped dwarven crusader. This with a view to threatening the tournament once more. We tell Ridala, who informs the crusade and warns the spectators. We only see the Black Knight again as the final boss of the Trial of the Champion 5-man instance within the Crusaders' Colosseum. There we must defeat him in 3 separate times, in corporeal form, in skeletal form, and finally in ghost form. Insert "this isn't even my final form" joke here. Whilst we do this, the Black Knight is finally extinguished forever, and the ultimately useless Argent tournament continued to roll on uninterrupted. Yay! So that's the story of the Black Knight. Thank you for watching this edition of Lore Behind the Legendary. I hope you learned something, and I hope you realised that the entire storyline for this character is one long Monty Python reference. Oh well, never mind. I'm Titan, and I hope you enjoyed my company. Please share, like, and favourite this video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow me on Twitter. I hope you enjoyed my company once again, guys, and I'll see you next time.
Prepare to face the mighty Millhouse Manastorm!
Retribution!
Prepare to face the mighty Millhouse Manastorm!
Millhouse Manastorm is a neutral legendary card. He's a 2-cost 4/4 that reduces the cost of your opponent's spells to 0 for the entirety of next turn. But what's his story, and why should we care? This is Lore Behind the Legendary, Millhouse Manastorm Edition.
Prepare to face the mighty Millhouse Manastorm!
The Architraz and our first encounter with Manastorm. In order to tell the story of Millhouse Manastorm correctly, a small amount of exposition is required. The subject, the Architraz. It's one of the 4 wings of the Naru Fortress Tempest Keep, the others being the Botanica, the Mechanar, and the Exodar. But the Architraz itself is a prison, designed to hold the most villainous and dangerous beings the Naru had encountered throughout their travels in the universe. As they had done in the past with this vessel Oshugon, the Naru brought Tempest Keeper Draenor in order to help the Draenei escape from the planet. Unfortunately, the vessel had been taken over by Kel'Thas Sunstrider and his Blood Elves, who had found, oddly enough, just one lone Naru, namely Mu'uru, to defend it. The Draenei attempted to take back the fortress, but were only able to gain control of the Exodar, which had been sabotaged by the Blood Elves. Their work caused the Exodar to hurtle aimlessly throughout the twisting nether, eventually crash landing on Azeroth. With the Naru and the Draenei out of their beautiful salon-quality hair, the Blood Elves began to utilize Tempest Keep for many experiments and augmentations in their quest to find a new source for arcane power. This is probably the time when a curious gnome, fascinated by the Naru and all things arcane, snuck into the vessel, where he was imprisoned as a stowaway. The alternative time he could have snuck in is prior, when the vessel had naught but Mu'uru inside it. Nonetheless, this isn't known for sure. Either way, he was imprisoned as a stowaway and would stay there for a very, very long time, until the armies of Azeroth assaulted Tempest Keep. The Blood Elves had placed Warden Melechar in charge of the prisoners, whom he actually used to defend himself when the invaders arrived. Unfortunately for Melechar, one of the cells happened to contain the mighty Millhouse Manastorm.
Where in those brass buttons am I? And who it... Oh, that is one mother of a headache.
Millhouse would then offer his aid to the invaders before fleeing the scene, lucky to be alive. After the Cataclysm, the Stone Corps and the Twilight Hammer clan. We wouldn't hear from Millhouse again until after the Cataclysm. Sadly, he had aligned himself with the Twilight Hammer cult, a group of mortals in the service of old gods, and their pawns, such as Deathwing. They're not dissimilar from the Cult of the Damned, who are a group in service of Kel'Thuzad, Arthas, and the Scourge, and I talked about them in the previous episode of Lore Behind the Legendary. Millhouse himself would make his return in Deepholm when the heroes, in opposition to the Twilight Hammer, were invading the Stone Corps, an area the cult was occupying. In between Arcatraz and the Stone Corps, Millhouse has clearly been working on his Arcana, specifically a devastatingly powerful spell by the name of Impending Doom. Unfortunately for Millhouse, for whatever reason he is unable to finish casting it. But eventually, as he is about to, the Rockworm Cordbrodus emerges from the earth and knocks Millhouse off the side of the cliff, presumably killing him. And therefore presumably ending his story for now. Mists of Pandaria and the Brawlers Guild. But we were wrong. The plucky gnome managed to find his way to the Brawlers Guild somehow, proving to me at least, and I hope everyone else, that this unnaturally tall gnome is one tough son of a bitch. So that's the story of Millhouse Manastorm, the pluckiest, the tallest, and definitely the mightiest gnome ever to live. Almost gives me respect for one of my least favourite races in the game. I have been Titan and I hope you enjoyed my company. I hope you learnt something and enjoyed this edition of Lore Behind the Legendary. Please do like, subscribe and share the video if you did enjoy it, and stick around for the rest of the series. I'll see you next time.
I have no time for games.